sometimes the stars unexpectedly align, and in this case, I'd already arranged to pick up this from my mate in Makina Bristronica, which is a synth and modular festival in Bristol in the UK, when Cherry Audio announced the release of this, which is Atomika, which is their new soft synth based on the Polivoks. And I just want to start by saying I don't expect the hardware and the software to be identical. I wouldn't expect two Polivokses to be identical. The build quality is dubious, to say the least, and they were, you know, a little bit unpredictable. They were based on op-amps, or the filters based on op-amps that weren't designed originally for audio use. So there's a lot of things to play with in here. Each of them is slightly different, but I'm really hoping this gets in the same ballpark. And I did ask Cherry Audio for a license for the software for this video. Well, actually, I dared them to give me a license to do the comparison. And I say dare because it is renowned for being a bit unpredictable. So quite brave of them to send it over, but it also shows their confidence in what they've built. And as you heard on that little demo in the intro, you can get them very close. They've definitely got the same feel. And that's quite a simple tone. It's just got two oscillators and some noise in there, bit of resonance and playing with a cutoff. And we're getting, you know, reasonably close. But I should mention that the software's got a whole load of extra functions and a lot more range than you get on the hardware. So if we look at the modulation, for example, this is flicking the filter into looping mode. So you've got ADSR or loop mode. So that's actually as fast as this will go. And that's as much modulation as you can get. It won't go any faster than that. But if we come to the software, let's add some. I'm getting more modulation on, we'll go from 0 to negative here. We don't get the negative on this. That's about the same, but it goes a lot more modulated, if that's a word, modulatable. You can hear there's a lot more movement in the software, and also I've set this at about 105 milliseconds. We can reduce that by an awful lot. Which the hardware just can't do. Other little things I've set the attack on 0 on the hardware. On the software, it's around 20 milliseconds. The hardware feels a little bit sluggish when you're playing it. So to get that sluggishness into the software, I've added just a little attack there. Another nice little touch that the software has, and that's that this loop only loops when we're on gate. So we're not pressing the key, it doesn't work. But this does exactly the same. Just increase the release on that. So it does have all the little quirks of the original. We've got things like Oscillator 1 and Oscillator 2 in duo mode. Oscillator 1, you'd expect it to be the lower note, but it's actually the higher note. Software does the same. The high note is Oscillator 1. I've just shown you they've paid attention to detail on the little quirks of it, but like I say, we have got a lot more stuff on there. If we look at the software, we've got a whole page of effects, and if we look at the modulator, we've got a ramp and we've got a sawtooth. We don't have that on the hardware, and also the hardware's only got a low pass and a band pass. If your Russian's not very good, this is low pass, this is band pass, and on the software, we've got low pass and band pass, high pass, notch and peak. So we've got more there, but if we've got the low pass, let's just have a play. It's a band pass. And you'll notice the play on this as well, actually. If we go much past center, I'm at the top. Peak frequency at just over 2. So this is much better scaled on the software. Low pass and band pass. So starting off pretty close. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything on this actually, because this is more about the character. So it does do the Polivoks thing. It does limit itself in certain ways to the Polivoks, but we do have things like 16 voices and detune. So there's loads more you can do with it. But again, does it have the character? Well, the character in the Polivoks is all about those op amps in the filter. Does it emulate that? Starts off with a simple sawtooth as normal. Lovely and crisp and clean, that, isn't it? And that's almost the same, just at the very top end there we lose around 20 kilohertz, it drops off. But that's nothing that anyone could hear anyway. You can hear that's just not as snappy. Or maybe you can't hear it, you can feel it though. So all good to start off with. Let's play with the cutoff. Got to be careful with this one because we only do get really any play in it between 0 and 2 and a bit. So quite similar up to now, aren't we? Let's play with the resonance because that's where this really kicks in. If we turn this up a little bit, well, turn it up to the max actually, it just cuts out. Let's try it on the software. Doesn't cut out on the software, but I have seen other demonstrations online. I think Heimbach did one and his cuts out as well. So I don't think it's a problem with mine. This has actually been serviced by AJH Synth. That's who I bought it from. So if you don't know AJH Synth, Alan is sort of basically friends with Hans Zimmer. Here's a photo of him with Hans Zimmer and the modular system they designed together. So I'm pretty confident it's in pretty good nick, this. Other thing we'll notice here is that we're not losing any bass at all or any volume with the resonance. So we've got resonance in there, but it's staying at exactly the same level. And you'll see in there we've got those sort of 3 little peaks. One big one little Batman on the right hand side. Let's see what we get on the software, but mind your ears, I will turn this down in the mix, but it can be quite spiky, so. So we've got 2 peaks. Let's try that over here. Let's try and recreate that on the hardware. And you'll notice actually on the software here, I've got the filter tracking at just past 3, and just past 3 equates to what I'm getting off this unit here. It doesn't have filter tracking or any control over it. It does have filter tracking. It's not perfect, but the setting of 3 on this is the same. So close-ish, but not identical. Let's have a little extra play. Three peaks there with the little Batman on the right-hand side. Similar-ish, but not identical to this one. But as we'll keep on saying throughout this, I don't know if this one sounds identical to the others. It seems to have lots of the same quirks as you get on ones I've seen demoed, but I don't know if it sounds identical. And it looks like Cherry have spent quite a lot of time making those sort of additional harmonics in there to match something. So whether it matches this one or theirs, I don't know really. What this is all about, I think, is the character of it. And you heard then. We're getting in the same ballpark, I think. But like I say, not identical. But with these op amps in here, who knows? But what we definitely don't get is what's coming up. And this is a right old treat for your ears. So do turn this down. As we turn this up, it goes from what's quite a pleasant sounding, even this, if a bit sort of spiky resonance, into something completely mental. It is. And it's like a binary switch between musical and completely insane. So all this stuff's really nice and quirky, not very musical, hard to use on the track except for in effects, but I think this is the real quirk of the Polivoks. As I say, difficult choosing a track. But insane. We can't quite get that on the software. But turn this all the way up. We go into sort of, I like MS-20, sort of nice, gritty, dirty territory. And as you bring it down here, we get some lovely grumbles and rumbles. But we don't get what we get on the hardware. But those little bubbly things there, we can get them using these extra controls, the starve and the filter drive. So we've got a drive before the filter and we've got a drive after it. And that gives us all sorts of lovely juicy goodness that you can't get on the hardware. Then we've got this starve parameter as well. And this reminds me of the Culture Ultra. That's got something called bias on it. Sort of loses the bass end off things and squishes the signal down. I'm not sure exactly what it does, but this sounds very similar to that. You can hear as I bring it in, we're losing the bass. But it also changes the cutoff as well. But you get all those weird little bubbly type sounds that I was getting on this. Not the same, but sort of an approximation of that effect. And you can get some lovely bubbling LFO style noises from that. So lots of things to play with in there, but not identical to mine, as I keep on saying. I don't want to be too anal about this and go through every single thing on it, but what I've just noticed really is that the software can take it places that the hardware can't. Obviously, you've got the polyphony, you've got the effects in there, and everything feels a little bit tighter. The envelopes feel a bit tighter, a bit better from that respect. But I've not tried it really as a polysynth yet. I've not done all the other bits and bobs. This isn't meant to be a full walkthrough of the Atomika. It's just, does it sound anything like the one I've got in front of me? And sort of, what I'd really like it to do actually is limit itself to the parameters we've got on this. Just have a separate mode on it. I'm sure that's really hard to do and not a simple task at all. But if you could limit it to just what you've got here, to the sloppiness of it, not necessarily to the filter being identical to this other sounds, just so the filter, or so the LFO is as limited, the envelopes are as limited. Things like, actually, if we look at the FM on this, the FM is really quite poor. So oscillator 2 is modulating oscillator 1. It's almost pointless. It's like, you just can't do as much as that as maybe you would like. But on the software, it does a lot more. So you can get the same tones out of it, but you know, you can get so much more from the software. But yeah, my point being, wouldn't it be interesting to have soft synths that just did what the originals did. And then you'd realise why people wanted synths that did more back in the 80s, because they are quite, I mean, this is fun, don't get me wrong, and I've really fallen for its charms, actually. But as a synth to use day in, day out, they are a little bit rubbish as an all-in-one synth, whereas the software could be an all-in-one synth. You can get anything you want out of it. But it would be interesting to have a button that you pushed on it and it just went, no, okay, well, back in 1982 in Russia. Quite interesting. But I hope the rest of that was interesting to somebody somewhere. As I say, not a complete review of this, just a little breakdown of the differences and the similarities that I've found. Hopefully you can get some fun out of the Atomika being as charming but with a bit more range. And I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do subscribe, ring the bell, join me over on Patreon. This channel is funded by my wonderful patrons who, for the price of less than a dodgy coffee a month, get access to patches, samples, tutorials, and extra goodies. Also, do take a look at my starskycar.com website. I've got patches and samples on there as well. Things you can buy and things you can get for free. But do take a look at maybe buying some of the really cheap sample packs on there. It all does help to support the channel. You know, I buy stuff, I sell stuff like this. I normally do it at a bit of a loss, and that's what all this, all the funds help to pay for. So they are massively appreciated. Anyway, thanks very much for staying to the very end. I do hope that was useful, and I will see you next time.